The internet is home to some of the most highly regarded indie horror media, from the Mandela catalog to Five Nights at Freddy's, so it's no surprise that variety content creator and Twitch streamer Ranboo Live, more commonly known as Ranboo, saw their horror series Generation Lost: The Social Experiments take off. The show saw more than 100 million views on TikTok within the first week of release. Hundreds of artists, editors, writers, and cosplayers have been creating fan art all across social media months after its debut, and the show was even considered for an Emmy nomination. Additionally, it saw one of VidCon Anaheim's largest panels in 2023, uniting fans from all over the world to express their excitement and admiration for the show. The impact it's made already is incredible, especially given how recently the series came out, and the fact that this was Ranboo's first major production. Generation Lost has undoubtedly already proven to be one of the most revolutionary horror series the entertainment industry has seen in a long time, and it is paving the future of not just horror media, but media and entertainment as a whole. Alright, I threw a bunch of information and very high claims at you, so if you're unfamiliar, let me tell you what Generation Lost is actually about. Gen Lost is an interactive live show in the horror comedy genre about a dystopian entertainment company called Showfall Media. The company has developed a technology that allows them to change and suspend a person's perception of reality, so much so they can influence them to do anything. And yes, that does include murder. The company uses this technology on their actors, familiar faces whom they puppet into playing assigned archetypal roles. The show, which was initially streamed before a live audience, involved viewers making decisions and choices for our hero. Though what begins as a relatively light-hearted comedy quickly devolves into something much darker and bloodier, and the audience's choices begin to have much heavier consequences. It's exactly what the title suggests, a social experiment, except you, the viewer, are taking part. It features an incredible cast of content creators such as Charlie Slimesicle, Germa985, Nikki Niachu, Ethan Nestor, Saikuno, Sneaks Nag, and several incredible others. The talent is really amazing. And by utilizing a live stream structure along with audience integration elements, Gen Lost is the perfect blend of interactive, terrifying, and ridiculously goofy, allowing it to appeal to almost any horror enthusiast, from classic 80s horror fans to Saw Trap enjoyers to the modern-day Little Nightmares fanbase. And it's its own unique project too. Whether you're learning about the show and consequently Ranboo today, or you're a longtime fan who's yet to check it out, I can promise you that Generation Lost will leave you shocked and send you off with a massive sense of dread that will leave you feeling haunted for days. That is a good thing, I swear. The ending, oh my god! Overall, it contains such an eye-opening commentary on the harsh realities of content creation that I'll discuss later on, and it might even have you reconsidering the role you play as an audience member too. I highly recommend you check out the show before watching this video before I spoil everything for you, because this is a discussion. You had your warning, okay? Go watch it, it's cool! Alright, let's get into it.
Your choices will matter, so be sure to make the right one, or the effects could be devastating for our hero.
Your decisions matter. By far one of the most terrifying yet chaotically entertaining powers the audience can be given during a live show. It's especially fun when the avatar you get to pilot like a point-and-click video game character is none other than Ranboo Live themselves. Or at least the character he's playing. Right? Of course, something is obviously off about this production. It's eerie, like we aren't supposed to be there. Ranboo says it himself after waking up.
I wasn't supposed to be like that.
He taps SOS with his hand in Morse code. Hell, even before the first episode, the trailers were warning us not to watch the show, which is a suspicious and interesting marketing technique. The trailers warn us that the show wasn't made for us, that we need to save him, or Ranboo, yet we play the game the moment we're given the option to. And we do this because of perception. It's what allows the audience to be manipulated alongside the characters. It's in the lore, the sci-fi elements, the horror. What we perceive to be wrong is not more interesting, at least to the majority of the audience, than what we find entertaining. And we're not turned away by the creepiness of it either, rather we're intrigued. We know from the tone of the teasers that this show is supposed to be scary, and when we're not immediately met with your typical horror content, we're sitting there waiting for something to go horribly wrong. It's kind of messed up when you think about it, but the premise of that is so goddamn interesting too. It's what Generation Lost explores. Take the first episode, The Spirit of the Cabin. We get to meet the slimy, goopy guy himself, Charlie Slimesicle. He's by far one of the funniest people on the internet, and I can't think of anyone more suited to play a comedic demon covered in green Elmer's glue. How the hell can anything be taken seriously when he's sticking his ass into a Nightmare on Elm Street style wall while Ranboo tries to sleep in front of it, or saying Gooby or Spaghetti? I mean, it's wild, it's funny, but it's not scary. Sneeg, his character is hilariously sarcastic. He said it himself when discussing the ideas he hoped would be conveyed in his character's theme song.
I actually really loved my day one character because the whole thing was I was just a guy, right? I was just some guy, like to Ranboo at that point, right? I was just a guy. So when Nathan asked me how I wanted my music to sound, I was just like, it needs to sound like you don't know if it's positive that I've appeared.
His character is friends with a plastic skeleton named Frank. He's constantly berating Ranboo just for existing and trying his best, and he just does not give in to the horror at all. Despite being trapped in a cage for an unknown period of time, he's the most chill and indifferent guy around. Not what you'd expect from a victim, much less someone stuck in a demon's creepy basement. Yet, still, with that notion, something is off with the audience's outside context of this being a scary series. Not to mention Sneeg's character is labeled the Taken. And Ranboo, the proclaimed hero. Once the lights in his mask turn on, indicating Showfall's taking control, the stream doesn't read too different from your average chaotic Ranboo stream, or even one of their old cooking challenge YouTube videos. The fear in their voice just moments before disappears entirely. Instead, he stands up and speaks with unnatural dialogue that is jarring in comparison.
No, 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 no! Where am I? Oh, this place sure looks weird.
The audience leads him out into the woods or on a beach, shoving sand in his pocket through a multi-dimensional door. They get to knock books on his head and jump scare him with bats. There's the goddamn slime dimension in Christian hell. Amidst this comedic tone switch, we meet Showfall's mascot Squiggles as well, whose comments resemble what you'd read from the audience live tweeting online. Squiggles encourages us to play along whether we realize it or not, getting us invested deeper in the show, and distracting us from our suspicions. Ranboo's acting weird, but rather than being concerned, we want to find out why. More so, we want to see what we can make him do for our own entertainment. Ultimately, Showfall's production is fun. We know on a meta level that things aren't all that they seem, that Ranboo is in danger, and yet we want to watch it. It doesn't seem like there's any real threat, just comedy and a story, an entertaining one at that we want to see play out. Why deny ourselves that closure? Why stop the show? It's exactly what Showfall wants. And Hetch, the quote-unquote mysterious savior who's been trying to contact us supposedly all along. A shoulder to lean on, if you will, a false sense of security that things are in someone else's hands. Things are under control, Ranboo is safe with Hetch, and Hetch has influence. There's this level of detachment where we as the audience don't need to take any responsibility for saving Ranboo. Yes, we have a degree of control, but Hetch has contacts, so it isn't our responsibility to help. We just get to play the game. Of course, many, including myself, still had their suspicions. I know on my first watch, as I scrolled through live tweets, the realization that Ranboo was being controlled against his will certainly impacted my decisions when voting. I weighed the consequences of what each option might mean in the long run. For example, what if battling Sneeg and defeated him meant actually killing him? What if letting Ranboo sleep meant he wouldn't wake up? What if we were missing something that was right in front of our eyes? We had an influence, yet we were making shots in the dark, guessing what would happen under the guise we had control. Yet we all voted in the majority for progressing. We continued to follow the script because we didn't perceive anything to be wrong, at least not wrong enough to panic. More than anything, we were just entertained, even me. It's kind of horrifying, so much so that, fully out of character, Ranboo later revealed that a wire on his back got exposed the second time he laid down on the couch. This caused him to get burnt throughout the second half of the episode and sent to the hospital afterwards. Though their real injury was by no means intentional, it's just further proof of the terrifying manipulation used on the audience from the very beginning, and on the characters stuck in the show. I mean, if seriously, we didn't notice anything was off when something was actually wrong, then how would we realize this cast of characters was actually being hurt? Though Ranboo really should have stopped the show for a second or something. Like, I get the commitment, but dude, please. That aside though, this general suspension of concern continues in episode 2, though things do start to get a bit more obviously worrying. Between Ranboo getting drugged by rats at the end of episode 1 to the trailer for episode 2 of him screaming in an electric chair, the content of the Mastermind of the warehouse as a whole shifts in tone. There's this haunting scene of Charlie, or Patient Charlie, that directly contrasts even the electric chair sequence that precedes it, which, in the nature of episode 1, was surprisingly a lot more mild and funny than the trailer suggested.
Get out.
The amount of chains on there would hold every single bicycle. For a million years.
For a million, that's...
It's a very long time, Ranboo. Don't!
Jerma's character, the Puzzler, is more of your Team Rocket-esque villain than the puppet from Saw. I mean, look at this guy.
I think I look like Giga Chad. Yeah!
Definitely more of a silly villain like Charlie was in episode 1. So the chair isn't all that scary, and Ranboo's reaction to it isn't very extreme, even though it was later revealed by actual writer Ranboo that their character died and came back to life after the first shock. But even Charlie's character, one of the Puzzler's victims, acts like a frat boy with zero concern for his situation. Again, the set is scarier this time, but still, it's more funny than anything. But Ranboo starts slicing Charlie open, and for a moment, green turns to red. Rather, slime turns to blood. Showfall's hold on our perception slips. We get a glimpse into how dark this reality really is for the first time. Even that brief second where the blindfold is lifted, the sight of Charlie torn open, screaming, this horrific, gory, bloody surgery scene, and Ranboo retreating, panicking with genuine, unfiltered terror, is enough to change everything. The mask Ranboo wears is this supposed blindfold responsible for the manipulation. It's the rose-tinted glasses that make both us and the characters continue to play our roles despite the horrors before us. The characters don't, or rather can't, see the truth that's dawning on us. Both who they are as people and what is happening around them are censored and manipulated in favor of the script, and by extension in favor of the audience's entertainment. Ranboo does start to sort of wake up as his mental state rapidly declines. His human emotion and survival instinct overpower the wires controlling them, which is saying a lot considering the mask warps the function of his occipital lobe, the part of the brain that is literally responsible for visual perception as well as hallucinations. For simply fighting out of self-preservation and being scared by horrifying things, he's penalized and is turned into what is more palatable to the audience. Someone funnier, not scared out of their mind. They're censored enough to ease our growing concerns that stem from seeing them in such distress. He becomes an NPC. He's empty without someone, the audience whispering directions into their ear without someone telling them who they are, what to think and where to go. He's a puppet. Compare this to Sneak. On the carousel, Hetch frees him briefly. His eyes are open to everything. To Charlie's true condition, to the fact he'd been kidnapped, to the recollection that Ranboo is his friend and none of them belong there. His hat isn't covered in slime but blood. Charlie's blood. Yet when he tries to run and escape, he's brought back upon seeing them all, reset, and behaves as unnaturally as Ranboo. He sits willingly on the carousel he just ran from, fully unrestrained. And when the control is dialed up for the two of them, the very next sequence we get is the laser room, suspiciously the silliest part of the show since episode 1, which was intentionally comedic. Sneak and Ranboo banter about backseating, bringing out their white noise duo commentary. Vinny is tossed across the room with impossible physics, an anvil is dropped on his head like a cartoon character, and Charlie appears on a towel, then explodes. Not to mention the fact that Ranboo and Sneak teleported. But Vinny is dead. He was killed brutally and his execution was treated like a comedy sketch. Yes, it's funny on the surface, but the truth is chilling because it's all just a distraction, another attempt at control. The audience's minds start to wander and imagine what actually happened behind the filter. A mannequin didn't actually take Vinny's place, did it? The picture is disturbing. We just watched Ranboo and Sneak happily send a man to his death, no remorse, just unnatural emotional reactions from all of them, or the lack thereof. Was Vinny fighting for his life? Did Showfall censor his screaming? Did they make him happy to die? Does the same go for Charlie and the others? Everything is wrong. Earlier, we tried to save Nikki, who's sobbing on the carousel, which is by far one of the most natural and real exhibits of emotion since Charlie's screaming. She's at least somewhat aware of the situation around her. And yet the second she has a chance to defend herself from a death she's very clearly terrified of, she's reduced to nice, her chance to fight is stripped from her, and she becomes nothing more than a two-dimensional character. Then she's shot twice. Sneak's character has done this before. It was revealed both by his own dialogue and streamer Sneak himself that he knows where Germa is standing, indicating that this is a scripted event. But Nikki's character's death is still real. Sneak knows it's coming, yet he doesn't do anything to help. Ranboo moves forward, he's our hero, and yet he can't do anything to help. The narrative continues on. Later on, Ranboo even leads Ethan to his death on purpose. He encourages him to go the wrong way so that the narrative can be progressed. This is not the character we just saw apologizing profusely over Patient Charlie. When he tries to tap SOS again, his other hand stops it. He's broken, he's a machine following Shofal's script like it's his programming. None of the actors are performing, this is real, and they're being forced to do these things. And when Ethan does die, presumably to the security monster we meet later on, only Austin reacts to his pool of blood on the ground. It seems he's the only one who can really see and feel anymore, the only one with any sanity. Yet he's framed unreasonably to be the crazy one. Austin is still acting like a human being, and in comparison, Ranboo and Sneak are more like flat characters with objectives, like they're drones or NPCs. Sneak doesn't even fight to live with the moving wall trap. He just holds Austin back, joking around so that the hero can continue on. The story needs a protagonist, and Sneak and Austin are just there to push the narrative along. Even the supposed villain of the story, the mastermind of the warehouse, is not spared. For no reason seemingly, he's blown up. Yet, he's a bit more empathetic than we were initially led to believe, as if maybe he's on Ranboo's side and he's not doing what Shofal wants.
The truth will set you free. Godspeed, Ranboo. Godspeed.
Maybe he fails to play the role of the heartless, evil villain, and so they get rid of him. Let's say hypothetically the puzzler was trying to help Ranboo. That would mess up the script. He's supposed to be a villain, and the savior is supposed to be Hetch. With the puzzler dead, along with everyone else that could potentially help Ranboo escape, Ranboo's left vulnerable, and Hetch becomes his only hope. We get a glimpse into who the puzzler is, Germa, but we never really get to see his true intentions before he's killed. He's as evil as Charlie or any of the other characters we meet. He's just a guy who's under control. But we engaged in Shofal's game. We helped to guide all of these characters to their death, forcing Ranboo to watch as we solve the pipe puzzles and vote and interact with the stream. We keep pushing Ranboo forward, hurting him until Shofal has no choice but to penalize him and steal his mind from him and push them along themselves. We keep progressing despite being aware of the harm we are doing. Even after we lose contact, Ranboo keeps moving because he has to. Our presence encourages Shofal to keep going with their production. Even if we don't want to hurt anyone, we are unintentionally doing exactly that. We are giving them engagement and a reason to progress the story. That is until the script writer himself, Hetch, comes to save Ranboo from his own creation, only toying with his emotions more and leading the audience into a false sense of security. And then for the first time, Ranboo sees behind the fourth wall. The camera lenses, the lies, he sees the mall, his prison, and he sees us, the audience that must hate him for everything he's done. He doesn't blame us, he blames himself, and it's so tragic. Much like us, his perception is changed. His eyes are open, and yet still, neither of us have control.
Dude, come on, let's just go. Come on.
What?
We
Okay,
just
guys,
have to find a way out of here.
I'll be
Come
right
on.
back. I'll be right back. Okay, for the stream. Hey, what the fuck
Stop
are you doing?
watching!
What the? Hey!
I had one prediction before Generation Lost came out. It was that Ranboo was going to kill off whatever character he played in some crazy way, because I'd watched enough of this guy's stuff to know that he'd want nothing more than to act out a dramatic death scene and emotionally devastate his audience. He's a horror enthusiast and a La La Land fan. He puts more angst into his OCs than an AO3 author. It would just be very Ranboo of them.
I've been killed.
I got this B-roll as a joke, but case in point. It would be okay though, I thought, because unlike characters he'd created in the past, we wouldn't really get to know Generation Lost Ranboo for that long. We wouldn't have that attachment. And then episode 3 dropped and we got the reveal. These characters weren't characters at all. They were the streamers we know. And goddamn did that hurt. Generation Lost Ranboo is Ranboo, just a fictionalized version of himself. Our streamer! I remember in the back of my mind Ranboo saying something about how their character wouldn't be too different from them, but I didn't think they meant it literally. The moral crisis hit hard. I wanted to support this project, it was Ranboo's, yet at the same time, I was watching his downfall. I was watching this guy who, despite his frequent jokes about murder, could never willingly lead someone to their death or let their friends die and do nothing. They're a nice person who's human and sensitive and caring. They've cried over pictures of cats that look sad. And yet Showfall erased all evidence of that person. Showfall was literally pushing them far past their moral limitations and subjecting them to the worst possible scenarios. I wanted to help him, that was my goal. I didn't know how, but I was gonna try as hopeless as it seemed. Every time he looked at the camera asking us for help, I was like, I will get you out of there, buddy! I'm not even ashamed to admit that I was stressed! It is the most evil twist a writer could ever do. Make their audience, which already had an attachment to them, be responsible for their fate in literally a horror movie. But it is so genius as much as I hate him for it. This truth was a subtle reveal too. It was shown to us, not told, which I think was a fantastic writing choice. Ranboo comes across Charlie in his stream setup. Ranboo cares, he knows who Charlie is, indicating they were friends. And Charlie is live literally on a set that is a perfect recreation of his old room. He is Charlie Slimesicle, the Twitch streamer. There's aspects from his real life, such as the Slime Story plushies that are literally available to buy, not sponsored. And again, it's his room! He's live on his channel! He's a Twitch streamer who is streaming! This is their job, they have audiences! We are the audiences! They're not just characters based on Ranboo and Charlie, they are characters that are Ranboo and Charlie. And the same goes for Sneeg and everyone else. The signs were there all along even before this reveal too. The fact that we get connected to the show via a portal of all things. The fact that Ranboo's Twitch channel is our viewport, which is rebranded for the production. Hell, even the main characters' designs all suggest that Showfall has taken these people from our world. Little aspects of their personalities and even brands are there, such as Charlie being the slime-themed character rooted in comedy, much like his streams and YouTube videos, and Sneeg has his Lancer from Deltarune-inspired outfit, and Ranboo wears a mask. Ranboo wears a mask. Even in a production where Showfall shows real blood, they still choose to keep their protagonist faceless. And it's a deliberate decision. Ranboo in the show has no idea that it's his audience watching. He has no idea how much the majority loves him, how they are desperately scrambling on Twitter to theorize, to figure out how to save him. He doesn't see the chat trying to communicate which vote is the lesser of two evils. He doesn't know how much we want to help him throughout episode 3. He is convinced that we would want to hurt or sabotage him after he watched all those people die and did nothing about it, when we know it wasn't his fault. We know he was controlled through his mask. We know who he really is, and they're not a heartless murderer. Neither are we. But still, Ranboo is the prize of Showfall Media in this story. In the grand scheme of things, maybe his life doesn't matter, but here, in this experiment, he is the hero. The focal point. In the final scene, he stands in what Hetch dubs as the heart of the facility. The TVs hooked up to them depict their life here, their character arcs, and their predetermined decisions. Everything has led up to this moment. It was determined from the start of the script. Even on a meta level, this was the first scene that Ranboo wrote. It's the most pivotal, iconic sequence in Generation Lost. The hero, doomed by the narrative, meets his fate, as determined by the audience. And it's the audience's fault he ended up here. Generation loss is a commentary on content creation. The character of Ranboo and every other victim of the cast represents a content creator who is trapped in a cycle of being forced to make content for an audience who demands it at the expense of their well-being. It doesn't matter what they want to make, if they need to rest, if they've changed as a person. If they don't want to perform and present themselves as who the audience wants to see, they've outlived their purpose and are cast aside or, in this story, killed. If they do exactly what the audience wants, they're spared but are burnt out, their identities are stolen from them, and they're harmed to the point where they don't even want to continue anymore. They don't want to create, they don't want to perform for the audience. It doesn't make them happy anymore. It kills them to have no autonomy. They can no longer act upon their own creative ambitions and be emotional, flawed human beings. They are forced to be and do what the audience wants to see under intense scrutiny. On a theatrical level, it's what content creators go through on the internet. Though Ranboo does have a chance to break free of it all. One device keeps him under Hetch's control, and without it, the show would come crashing down on a level different than a kill switch button or passage through an exit door. It's the mask. I have put so much emphasis on it because the mask is one of the most meaningful symbols in Generation Loss. At the end of episode 2, when fans had fully made the correlation between the mask's lights and Shofal's influence, they speculated on what that could mean. Hypothetically, if Ranboo were to remove the mask, Hetch would no longer have any influence over him, and therefore they could escape. They had to take it off if they wanted to get out. It created an unprecedented opportunity for something like a face reveal. Maybe there would be an intense cinematic scene where Ranboo ripped the mask off and took back control in a fit of heartbroken rage. It would be a powerful, happy ending, a new era. Exactly what the audience imagined. But not what Ranboo wanted. Throughout Ranboo's real-life career online, the mask has been a part of his brand. It's iconic and recognizable, and fans think little of it. Ranboo is a fantastic creator and streamer who has so much more to them than the sheer fact that they are faceless, and most fans are happy with whatever they're comfortable with. But it leads those who are unfamiliar with him to wonder why he wears it. And some people let their curiosity get the better of basic respect. What is Ranboo hiding? Is it an act for publicity? What do they look like beneath it? Do they plan to take it off? When does everyone get to see his face? It's a mystery that attracts an audience, however intrusive it is to Ranboo's privacy and boundaries. But an audience is what a show needs, right? If that sounds familiar, it's because it's what the show is partially about. For those unfamiliar, Ranboo opened up in the past about struggling with facial dysmorphia, as well as the fact he decided to wear the mask simply for privacy reasons, especially given the culture of the internet. His career started blowing up when they were only 16 or 17 years old as well. The amount of eyes on them at such a young age, the expectations, along with society's obsessive fascination with objectifying people simply based on their facial features, is something that would be unnerving, I think, to anyone. I can't speak on behalf of Ranboo, but I know the idea scares me. It's not hard to understand why they've chosen to ask for the bare minimum of that privacy. It's none of our business, and again, Ranboo deserves recognition for who they are and the incredible things they do. Their decision deserves to be respected. But given the culture of the internet and the detachment within it, it hasn't always been. Many still disregard why he might wear the mask, and unfortunately many dehumanize him. Even if it's misguided or not with bad intent, he's still mistreated, literally as a mystery. A source of entertainment rather than a real human being. Hetch, and by extension Shofal, embody all of this. Ranboo can't take the mask off even if he wanted to. Hetch won't let him. The mask represents control, not only literally, but over Ranboo's career. He's an actor and an entertainer, a content creator. If Ranboo takes the mask off, Shofal can ensure that he will be exactly who they want him to be. They can't make him what they think the audience wants to see. If Ranboo takes the mask off, then the audience sees who he is with no fourth wall, no barrier, and no filter. Maybe he's not what the audience imagined. Maybe he's not what they hoped for. Showfall can't risk anyone being potentially disappointed because they might leave. His ideas, his skills, his identity, none of that matter because he was never a person in their eyes. He was just a source of entertainment. And if the audience can't manipulate him into being exactly what they want him to be, then what's the point? Showfall relies on the mystery of them being faceless. That is what they prioritize over anything else about Ranboo. I think he puts it into pretty good words himself, so I'll show you the clip.
Was the crack in the mask the hint of a face reveal? No, the mask actually has a bit of a deeper representation. And I didn't intend this when I wrote it, but I kind of realized it. Of basically, the mask represents essentially the sort of control, as well as just kind of like a lot, it represents a lot personally for me. In the sense of like, taking it off ends the show, right? And you guys know, all right, if you've watched me for a while, me physically taking it off, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'd probably lose a lot of people. It's probably how it would work, because that's just how the internet is, and that's how, like, just content creation, and especially with, like, people that are faceless and everything, that's just how it works, okay? Like, that's just how it works. And there's a lot that, again, I didn't really intend, but there's a lot that lines up. And I've seen you guys like start to catch on about it as well. Like with Nikki.
According to Nikki, in the Mastermind of the Warehouse, the cast of the carousel were given the guidelines to create a character based around their streamer persona and or career. Nikki tackled this in a genius, eye-opening way. Throughout her career as a female creator in a male-dominated and, unfortunately, often misogynistic industry, she's been scrutinized and harassed for being too emotional and subsequently criticized. But when it comes to defending her, arguments claim that she's so nice and likable, not that she's a person, or that it's horrible to act like that towards someone or say those things to or about them. Yes, she is very nice, but if she stood up for herself or voiced her feelings, chances are the harassment would only get worse. Or in this case, people might not want to save her. It's incredibly depressing that her portrayal does actually reflect the reality of her negative experiences in her career, but it is so important that it is represented in a show like this because it sparks conversation and hopefully change. Nikki spoke on this directly in a stream in which she reacted to the episode. For some context, she starts out reading a fan theory that was on Twitter.
It says, I adore the meta interpretation of Gen Loss because of what it does to Nikki's story. Like, oh my god, she was sobbing at the carousel until it was her turn to talk, and then she put on a smile, and all she could say was that she was nice. That is how Nikki has been viewed for her whole online career. People who hate her call her over-emotional, and then people who like her can only ever come up with, oh, she's so nice, oh, she's so encouraging. She just gets discarded, just as she was during You Know What, and was shot off screen. Snowfall didn't care about her because the fucking audience never did. And I think that is so, like, cool. And I kind of did think about that. And basically what Ranboo gave us was, you guys are a portrait of your screen. Like, you guys take on the roles of the streamers in the real world, like in the real universe. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna think about Nikki, I'm gonna think about Nihachu, and the hi guys, I'm so nice, oh my god, you guys should really choose me, was the Nihachu that people have always wanted to see. Even though I, whenever I wanted to cry on stream, or like just cry in general, whenever I wanted to, whenever I wasn't feeling good, whenever I was feeling emotional and I would stream, people would make fun of, like, you've seen the internet, you know how people were towards me when I cried. I am literally locked up on a spinning wheel of death, and of course I will cry, but I will not show it. I will not be able to show it to the audience. I cannot show them that I'm scared. I cannot show them that I'm tired and sad and fearing for my life, because that is what is expected of me, because the outcome that happens if I show how I feel is worse than the fate of death that I am fearing right now. if that makes sense.
This theme of the audience treating content creators as anything less than human and mistreating them is also present in other characters such as Austin Show, who is framed to be throughout most of the story as a joke. He's a gay man, as his subtitle suggests, and according to Showfall, nothing more. He's one of the few characters who seems to see everything with the least evidence of having his perception filtered all the time. He reacts to Ethan's death, freaks out about the situation, yet he's entirely censored when pleading for his life. As mentioned before, the contrast between him and the other characters paints him to be crazy, insane, someone who isn't to be taken seriously. He's there for you to laugh at. He's also, interestingly enough, the only character whose queer identity is even acknowledged, whereas Ranboo's and Nikki's are suppressed. Yet, it's made out to be a joke. It's a title slapped on with the utmost disrespect from the company, not an exhibit of inclusivity or any kind of acceptance. Far from it. On one hand, it's an accurate depiction of how many large media companies will censor controversial topics such as gay people, oh my god! But on the other hand, it's exactly what happens to many queer content creators. They're reduced to just being gay in ways that might seem like the audience is maybe trying to be supportive, but it ultimately comes off as belittling and demeaning. Austin is reduced to the ironic gay guy begging to be spared as he talks about his straight relationship with his wife and kids. Much like Nikki, he is an independent creator behind unique projects and individual ideas, and he is a person, but all of that is filtered out. He's gay, that's all he is. And if Showfall is gonna recognize his sexuality, then they're gonna make a joke out of it. But at the end of the show, we're presented with two options. The chance to change something. Of course, there's an illusion of choice here, but still, forcibly or not, our values are tested. We can recycle these characters or end it all. We can let Ranboo, the hero, the heart of the show, die, or force him to live. We can keep our beloved actor, someone we can shape into whoever we want, treat however we want without consequence, and force to entertain us forever. We can force him to be someone who exists entirely to serve us exactly what we want to see. He won't change, he won't leave, and he'll never stop. He'll be miserable and we'll take everything from him, but he'll be exactly what we want. Or we could set them free. And that is what we chose to do. The audience voted to kill Ranboo. In this way, we communicated that his well-being is more important to us than his content. It's tragic that the character will never know how much we care, yet still we voted to let him rest. We would rather see him happy or at peace than force him to be someone he isn't. And we are allowing them to move forward into a new era instead of being trapped in one that no longer represents who they are as a person. He's not a drone made of wires and machinery who can perform eternally for our entertainment. We don't ask that of him. He is someone deserving of a life in creative freedom that is theirs to explore. We are giving him the permission to grow and change and to be not only an artist, but a human being. This is, in a way, the happy ending of the story. It's hopeful, as gruesome as it is on the surface, and honestly, I personally think it's a reflection of Ranboo's actual career. Just like, without the fake blood and the brutal death and everything, of course, I really hope that part never happens. Anyways, at the start of their career in 2020, Ranboo was a daily streamer who mainly stuck to Minecraft. It was fun, and they had started their first horror-based storytelling with that medium, but they were afraid to try other games. They didn't want to break a 200+ day streak out of the fear that everyone would leave and this opportunity they had to pursue their dream job would be lost. But eventually they did start to branch out and try variety content, and they grew not only as a creator but a person too. And I hope maybe they started to see that they are deserving of the support that followed. And no, their view count might not reach 100,000 people every stream anymore, but they created a community of people who are constantly inspired by their endeavors. On behalf of someone in his fanbase, one of the boobers and gen losers, I can say that we are so proud to have seen Ranboo become more comfortable in themselves and just noticeably happier. I've found a safe space within the community where I can embrace my identity and share artwork. Hell, Generation Lost inspired me to write a 13-page video essay just so I could ramble about how much I love it. Gen Lost is Ranboo's ultimate passion project. It is proof of the amazing things that can be created when a person is passionate about what they are creating. Everything that the cast and crew have talked about regarding their behind-the-scenes experience has been positive. They collaborated, created a wonderful team, and Ranboo embraced their ideas and input. Going a little bit off script here, I wanted to add too that as a young artist, it's really inspiring to see a project like Gen Lost be so successful in a period of time where creative livelihoods are not being respected and instead are consistently threatened. But Gen Lost is proof that success is possible and we should pursue our passions and make changes and criticize the problems in the industry. We should make amazing things and pursue our creative endeavors, and Generation Lost gave me the little bit of encouragement I needed to feel more confident in that. This is why I believe it is so revolutionary and is paving the future for entertainment. We've been left with a production that not only criticizes the problems in modern entertainment and the real-life equivalents of showfall media, but one that proves the importance, value, and potential for success in embracing human creativity and well-being as well. It's a completely different model and platform than what we're used to, and it's really cool and just such a refreshing thing to see. Not to mention how inspiring and wonderful it is to have the representation of Ranboo being a gay and non-binary creator that so many people are gonna get to look up to now. And again, from a fan's perspective, I can say that I have no greater pride than being able to say, I watched this project be built from a Discord message. It is so awesome. Being a part of its first community events as well, such as the panel at VidCon, is something I will never forget. Ranboo has truly created something amazing, and this is only Generation 1. I cannot wait to see what the next generations bring, as well as how Ranboo improves. The show isn't perfect, and I of course have criticism for Gen 1, but it's just an opportunity for it to get better, and I have no doubt in my mind that this show is gonna get even better. Also, I started writing this video before the Founders Cut came out, so keep that in mind. I'm hoping as I'm recording this that we get some answers, because I have some theories and things that, weren't fully explained, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm so freaking excited too for Generation Zero, the story of Lost Field, which is the next installment, and I hope that if you are just learning about Gen Lost, that you'll be there to experience it firsthand too. This one is supposed to be more horror than it is comedy, and I'm excited to see that as well. I'm just so optimistic about this project, and I hope that if you haven't already watched the show, maybe this video incentivizes you to at least check it out for yourself. I firmly believe that it's only gonna get cooler from here. Oh my god, you made it to the end. Whoa, thanks for watching this. That's gonna make you leave. Sorry. This was my first time making any kind of video like this, as well as editing, doing a voiceover, and all of that fun stuff. So I appreciate you listening to me nerd out for, I think this is gonna be like half an hour. Go watch Generation Lost now if you haven't already. It is very cool, and as I just said, you're gonna want to be there to see it grow into something really, really cool, which it already is. And thank you to all of the artists who let me include their work in this video. I posted a little thing online. I was like, hey, if anyone wants to be included, let me know. And I got so many submissions. I'm so sorry if I couldn't include you. All of you are wonderful, and I tried to get a bunch in here. So thank you again if you let me use your stuff. Also, major thank you to Nathan Hanover for letting me use the soundtrack in this video. I absolutely love it. He did a fantastic job, and I highly encourage you go check him and his music out as well. Also, sorry for the bad audio leveling. I really don't know how to use Premiere. I felt like I should say something in the end card, so Also, quick little serious reminder, I know Gen Lost contains heavy themes of derealization and heavy subjects, so let me remind you that you are real. This project was created out of love, and supporting it doesn't actually hurt anyone involved. That part is all fictional. You are real, and your feelings are valid and matter. Take care, okay? Cool. Now, let me steal Ranboo's outro, because otherwise I don't know how to end this, and I think it'd be fun. You ready for this? Okay, cool. Ready? Welp. Oh, that was loud. Oh no, I'm so sorry for your ears. Okay, I swear I'm done now. Goodbye. Oh, okay. I can't do outros. I'm hitting it. We're done. We're done the video now.